Hey everyone, it's Asia Dang. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. This is actually the second time I'm filming this video because I got ready, tried to look good, put lipstick on, shot the whole thing, went to edit it, and I had lipstick smeared all over my face. So, you know me, always trying to do the very least of things. I contemplated whether to still post that video with makeup all over my face, but at the end of the day I decided that I didn't want that distraction to take away from the message of this video. So today I wanted to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement because it is very much an important topic right now. And I've actually been afraid to talk about it, not because I don't want to voice my opinion or be vocal about it, but more so that I don't want to say the wrong things or have something that I say be misinterpreted. So all over social media, I've kind of just been taking a couple steps back to give room for voices who need to be heard. I mean, I think we're over a weekend with protests and marches and everything. And I feel like there's been a lot of retweets and reposting of the same type of information. And while that's great, I feel like there needs to be space for more people who have different information or have something else to share, something new to share, to just have that space to do so. But this is going to be my first time properly addressing in depth my feelings about it. And then more importantly, what this video is about is where I see my place fitting in amongst the movement. And I think because I've been stepping back and instead of posting, I've been watching and listening and learning, I have for the past week kind of figured out what my purpose is. And I hope you do the same, trying to figure out what you can do personally to push the movement forward. It's been great. It's been cool to see everyone posting and marching and sharing Black-owned restaurants and Black-owned small businesses and Black content creators and sharing books, documentaries, podcasts, videos about racism and systematic oppression. It's been great to see everyone just dive in with information, but eventually posting needs to lead to action or turn into action. So my question to you and the question I've had to myself for the past week is, how can I help with that action? To me, this is more of a hypothetical question, like what is your purpose in this movement? But since I've been thinking about it, I wanted to do a video sharing my thoughts about what my purpose is. But first, let me kind of just get this out of the way. Black Lives Matter. And that does not mean that other people's lives don't matter. But Black lives aren't necessarily valued as high as other people's lives. So saying Black Lives Matter doesn't mean white people's lives don't matter, Latinx people's lives don't matter, or Asian American lives don't matter. But I don't have to worry when I go for a run. I don't have to worry if I wear the hood of my hoodie. I don't have to worry if I get pulled over by the cops. I don't have to worry if I'm going shopping, no one's following me. I don't have to worry if I have to ask someone to leash their dog, and I'm not worried that I'm going to be shot when I go ahead and sleep in my own bed. So the minority experience is very, very different between Asian Americans and African Americans. And yes, we have seen an uptick in hate crimes across the Asian American community, or just, I guess, the Asian community around the world because of COVID. There's been a rise in Middle Eastern hate crimes since 9/11, and then the rise of Latinx hate crimes since I guess, Donald Trump. So if you think collectively that we as minorities specifically don't have a stake in what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, you are very wrong. What happens now during the Black Lives movement directly affects how law enforcement sees us as minorities, how they recognize and prosecute hate crimes against minorities, how other people view us. It affects how laws are enacted to help us. So I just wanted to mention that because I've seen a lot of Asian Americans weirdly saying, well, Asian lives matter too. And obviously, but at the moment, the voices that need to be heard are Black voices in order to push the narrative that Black lives do matter. So I think we can step back a little and recognize that what is happening right now is for the greater good. Just wanted to kind of put that out there as being my opinion about the whole movement going on. And in terms of priorities of the movement, I've decided to concentrate on getting all of you, especially the Asian American community, to vote. I feel like unfortunately now too many people are caught up in the titles of Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, all that stuff. And unfortunately, 99% of the people who are in office don't work for the people anyways. And I feel like a lot of people, maybe my generation and younger, don't necessarily identify with either Democrats or Republicans because we know that neither of them work for the people. I am a registered Democrat, but the DNC is an embarrassment. For me, again, I am not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm not here to tell you you have to vote Democrat, you have to vote Republican. What I am here to tell you is to just vote, to commit to really understanding what issues matter to you and to find nonpartisan resources to help you figure out what candidates, what measures, what is on the ballot that will help you get your community to where you think it should be. And this is for all levels of the government. I know that everyone is super focused on the presidential elections, but honestly, everything that is probably important in your daily life is determined at the local level. And I do want to emphasize the doing your own research aspect of this. I mean, I know we all have our favorite resources or news sources that we look towards, but even during election time, I make an effort to go outside of my usual publications and find non-partisan resources to just tell me the facts. And from there, I can decide, according to what is on the ballot, who and what will help me accomplish the things I want to accomplish in terms of issues that I view important. And I think that's like the biggest problem right now is that people are actually voting against their own self-interests because they want to stay affiliated with Republican or Democrat. We are letting those terms get in the way of actual change. Could you imagine a world where our government, the American government, actually works for its constituents instead of big corporations, or our elected officials look like us, are from the same neighborhoods as us, have had the same experience as us, or even are the same age as us? You know, I look at some of the elected officials in both parties, and they are just so far removed from what the younger generation cares about. And it's embarrassing to me. It makes me so mad too that these are the people in charge of our future. We've seen the power of everyday people. We're seeing it right now, how everyday people can affect change. Every year we have the power to change what our politics, policies, and politicians look like. Voting in, again, I know that people are so gung-ho about the presidential elections, but voting in your local elections is at times more important for your everyday needs. City councils and mayors vote on city law, but also have the power to appoint certain municipal officers. So mayors are actually in charge of appointing police chiefs. But besides local law enforcement, other daily services that we use, garbage disposal, street maintenance, business developments, those are all voted on by city officials or your local school board members. I mean, the LAUSD is the second largest school district in the country, and they actually control a $7.5 billion budget. I don't even have kids, but that is scary. So for me, just anyone that has their hand in any type of budget needs to be thoroughly kind of vetted according to the issues you view important. District and state attorneys are the ones involved in deciding whether or not to charge those involved in officer misconduct. And then the state Senate and Assembly pass state legislation as well as the budget. So again, the list goes on and on and on and on, but ultimately what I'm trying to tell you is it's really cool to vote for the President of the United States. However, everything that directly affects your life immediately happens at the local level. So please don't forget to vote and take your local elected officials very seriously. So I guess I just want you guys to like step back a little and try to figure out what are the issues that are important to you right now. For me, social justice issues are very important, and those are the issues that I am most commonly vocal about, maybe not on YouTube, but definitely on my other platforms. And actually, basically all social justice issues disproportionately affect the Black community. So the environmental justice is inseparable from racial justice. Black and Indigenous people are disproportionately harmed by the gutting of environmental laws and regulations. Let's take Hurricane Katrina. Completely destroyed New Orleans. However, governmental neglect left Black communities in ruins. The Dakota Access Pipeline. That was a pipeline rerouted around a majority white neighborhood into the Standing Rock Reservation. And major pollutant industries, coal plants, waste facilities are more likely to set up shop in low-income neighborhoods where Black, Indigenous, and immigrant communities live. And then because those industries are there, that opens up the floodgates to a lot of health issues into these communities. Same with women's rights. Women's rights is inseparable from racial justice. Many lower income communities of color don't have access to healthcare. They don't have access to affordable birth control. And when you take a woman's right to choose and they have their child, now you're putting their child into a terrible public school system. Their parents might not even have work. There's no after-school program. There's probably no affordable childcare. And now what you're doing is you're keeping them in a cycle of poverty. And as the movement and marches and voices get louder and louder and louder, why don't the laws reflect that? And it's simply because the people in power do not reflect the movement. So that is all to say, please vote. Please vote at the federal and the local level. And I will be spending a lot of time reminding you guys. I don't really know what form it's going to take outside of like posting a video or doing an Instagram stories. But Brian and I have been talking about it, and he's actually been thinking once he's able to start, teaching in person again, that maybe it'll be a requirement for his classes that people have to register to vote or have proof that they are registered. So I don't know for me what form this is going to take. Maybe I can try and put together some kind of like registration booths in my neighborhood, or I'm not exactly sure yet. So if you have any ideas for me, I would love to hear what you might recommend me do outside of videos like this. But since we are doing a video, here's a couple steps that you can take right now. 1, see if you're registered to vote. And then 2, if you're not registered to vote, register to vote. And then 3, request a mail-in ballot. I have been voting this way for years. I know it's like really cool to Instagram stories or vlog you going into the poll booths, but honestly, mail-in voting is just easier. You don't have to wait in the really long lines. You don't have to worry about getting off work in time to cast your ballot. Everything is just so much easier. And especially with COVID, I mean, COVID is still a thing. And I do have to say that the protests that I have been to this past week, everyone's been very respectful. We've all been wearing masks, and everyone has hand sanitizers. It's been as clean of a protest as you could possibly want during a pandemic. But I have also been avoiding kind of like the larger scale marches, or Brian and I have actually been bringing our dogs and we put them in a stroller. So, you know, because my little boys can't walk for miles on end, but us having the dogs in a stroller allows us to kind of stay outside of the large groups. So I think that has also helped us kind of stay social distance. But that being said, just sending in a mail-in ballot is just gonna help you and your family stay safe in general as well. Something else that you can do is sign up for election reminders and then find non-partisan resources to figure out who and what is on the ballot and what exactly that means for your community. Again, I just think that people are voting against their own self-interest to stay in a political party. And also the news that we consume kind of also gives us this bias against certain measures or who to vote for. So if you find a nonpartisan resource, which is free of affiliation, which basically just gives you the facts. What does this person represent? What is his voting record? What does this measure on this ballot mean for me in the community? If you can find those resources, that will be key. And then speaking of that, find out who is currently representing your community. Like I said, I think a lot of people kind of ignore the local elections and don't vote or don't have any idea who is supposedly working for them. So if you can just do a really quick Google search about who your elected officials are and what they stand for, you can, I think, begin to put the pieces together about why certain things are or aren't working in your community. Speaking of that, also please do fill out your 2020 census forms. And I know that's like so boring. I got mine in the mail and it's just like, ugh. But honestly, the census forms are so important. It informs how federal funding should be distributed to improve things like public transportation, your school system. We have more control over what goes on than we give ourselves credit for. But I think that we are in a really cool time right now where people are starting to care. We're realizing that our voice has power. Anyways, I would love to open up the comment section to talk about what you guys are thinking your role in this movement can be. Again, for me, I'm going to use my platform to help people or to encourage and inspire people to vote. Maybe you are an artist who maybe wants to focus on drawing Black women or taking photographs of protests and marches in general. Or maybe you're a business owner who has finally decided that they need to add more people of color on their board. Or maybe it's just as simple as you talking to your parents about what's going on right now and how you're feeling. There is no wrong answer. There is no time limit as to when you need to answer this by. These are just questions that I think we need to recognize in ourselves in order to really help push this movement and all movements forward. Is what is our purpose, our bigger purpose in this. I am definitely going to monitor the comment section because I will for sure delete comments about All Lives Matter. Because if you still don't understand why that's a bullshit argument, then you are just kind of ignoring your self-righteousness. So let's just get one thing straight. Black lives matter, women's rights matter, the environment matters, gun reform matters, LGBTQ matters. Those are all facts to me, so I'm not really interested in arguing those facts in the comment section. So anything regarding that will just be deleted. I just want this comment section to be a continual cycle of inspiration. Again, don't worry, I'm not going to tell you guys who to vote for. I just want you to vote. I just want you to make educated decision based on nonpartisan resources to vote for the people you think would do best according to your beliefs. Okay? So all the resources that I have, I will put in the description box. And yes, I have no makeup on my face. The dogs are no longer barking. I think that means that this video is finally done. I'm Misha Dang. Thank you for watching. I will see you on Friday. We're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming, and my budget video will be uploaded on Friday. Okay? Thank you.